Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. And today I wanted to cover the new teasers for the Void Champion that have been released. There are two teaser videos, one for Malzahar and one for Vel'Koz, and there is also another video Skin Spotlights made detailing the new Easter egg that will be happening in-game, where if you spawn in as Void Champions or get kills as Void Champions, you'll hear some mysterious voiceover from our newest champion. Now, all of this is very cool and exciting, and I will have it all linked down in the description below for you guys to take a look at it, but today's video is not going to be covering that. Today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit more about how I see the Void, and how I think the Void can be done best, and why this new character's direction is exceptionally disappointing. Now, I will say at least one caveat first. I had a similar issue with Kai'Sa when Kai'Sa was first revealed, and Riot essentially said Kai'Sa is Kassadin's daughter, has been living in the Void for years, and is coming out totally fine. And I think the issue everyone had with that is that the Void, to our knowledge, was just an eldritch, screaming dimension which to gaze upon it invites madness, yada yada yada. How could Kai'Sa possibly have survived that and still look as human as she does when Kassadin and Malzahar and Jax, who were just tangentially touched by the Void, look so different? And the explanation by Riot was eventually that the Void on Runeterra is just known as like the underground section where Void portals are and where Voidborn can spawn, but not the Void itself, right? There is the Eldritch dimension, and then there is the underground of Runeterra, and they're both referred to as the Void. Kai'Sa stayed in the latter, not the former. And that was an explanation that at least worked for me a little bit with regards to the design of the character, right? That sort of explained that away, and I was alright with that. This isn't to say that Kai'Sa's design is good by any stretch of the imagination, but at least it explained that part of her design. So I will say at least that the caveat for me right now is that there may be further explanations coming from Riot that will make this character make more sense in context, but for right now, from where I'm standing, from what we understand about this character already, and from what we've seen from the leaks, I am absurdly disappointed. The biggest thing with these two teaser videos in particular is it implies a couple of things. First, it implies sort of a civil war in the Void. You have the new character who is opposed to the Watchers. This new character sees the Watchers as the true threat and wants to kill the Watchers in order to remake the Void in her image. The other problem I have is that this character is some sort of leader of the Void. The implication is that she is the one who gave Malzahar his visions, and she is the one who more or less controls the Void and controls the Voidborn and sort of manipulates and controls everything. And both of these are absurdly disappointing from the standpoint of what we knew about the Void and what we anticipated about the Void. I will admit this is all my opinion, but for me the Void was the most interesting aspect of the Void was how unknowable it was, and how obviously Eldritch and Lovecraftian and everything how it was inspired, right? That was all really cool about the Void, that it was this Eldritch screaming dimension where these creatures of various shapes and sizes come out of it, and despite them having their own individual personalities and their own individual wants and desires, they are all unconsciously doing exactly what the Void wants to do. That everything in the Void is razor sharp and honed and focused around dominating any other world that it's able to find a way into, right? The mages in Acacia who opened the portal to the Void invited it in, and the Void just goes from there. There is no question, there is no dissent, there is no complaint. The Void knows exactly what it is doing, and it's not even something you can really fight, right? The most you could hope for in Runeterra was to seal it off, because the Void itself is unknowably vast. It's an Eldritch dimension. You can't invade it back and kill it. There's no one in charge of the Void. That's a central thing, I think, to make the Void feel very different from normal human civilizations, which tend to have a singular ruler, that the Void doesn't have that, right? It's just everything that is a part of the Void serves the Void whether or not it knows it's serving the Void, and that it doesn't matter how many alpha beasts you're able to kill, the Void will always have something else and will always continue to stay as coordinated as it was before. It is unknowable, it is vast, it is ancient, and there is nothing you can do other than try to hide or delay the inevitable, right? That is the coolest thing for me about the Void. I think that's the coolest possible take on the Void. And if this sounds similar to, if you guys are familiar with Warhammer 40,000 and all the Tyranids, I would say, yeah, that's correct. I think that's a very interesting aspect of the Void, is sort of this parallel of what the Tyranids do, where it's not an individual character in charge, it's a hive mind. It doesn't matter what leader you think you killed. Everything is staying coordinated. It is unknowable. You can't deal with it. And it's so very different from what humans have, right? That, to me, is what makes the Void really, really cool. And this new character is sort of ruining all of that. First, the implication that this character is in charge of the Void. As I was just talking about, there is no one in charge of the Void. The Void is in charge of itself. Everything serves the Void, all Voidborn serve the Void, whether or not they're familiar with it, right? Even if you look at a character like Kha'zix, who's obsessed with killing Rengar right now, like, that's his goal. But Kha'zix's overall goal still serves the Void. Kha'zix is killing all sorts of alpha predators and apex creatures on Runeterra and absorbing their best traits to evolve him into the apex of the apex on Runeterra, right? That still serves the Void. That still weakens Runeterra to the point that the Void will have an easier time of actually conquering it, right? Or consuming it, as the case might be. The idea that this new champion is the one in charge of the Void is extremely disappointing, because it just sets up the Void as like another region, right? Okay, you have Swain in charge of Noxus, you have Jarvan IV in charge of Demacia, you have the new character in charge of the Void. That makes it more understandable and less complex and less Eldritch, and that is a tremendous disadvantage across the board. The other issue is the Civil War. Again, as I kind of talked about, one of the biggest draws for me about the Void is how it is constantly... everything works together, right? There is no dissent. The Void isn't there's no discussion between Voidborn. They always automatically work together for the success of the Void as a whole. The idea that there are these two factions in the Void that are going to be warring with each other is, again, exceptionally disappointing, and just not, it removes some of that interesting sort of Eldritch unknowability from the region as a whole in exchange for saying, yeah, it's basically every other region, right? That's one of the most terrifying things about it, is every other region in Runeterra has its own inter-regional conflicts, right? Or intra-regional conflicts, I should say. Right, Demacia has the whole Mage Seekers versus Mages situation. Noxus is built on strength and conflict, and everyone is always fighting each other in Noxus. Bilgewater constantly tearing itself apart in the Gangplank versus Misfortune wars. The Void, though, is always 100% on board what the Void is doing, right? Every Voidborn works with every other Voidborn, and that's one of those extremely terrifying things about it that is apparently no longer a thing with this new understanding of the Void and the creatures that lie therein. We're also getting too much of a look at the Void with this character. The Void is best the less you know about it. The more you explain, the less interesting it becomes as a region as a whole, and that's just another disappointing thing that Riot are doing here. Now, again, all of this is sort of under the assumption that Riot are not going to give us any degree of explanation that helps make this make more sense. I don't think there's any explanation they can give, but I've been wrong once before, so I'm willing to wait and hear it out. But suffice to say, I'm really disappointed by this take on the Void, and I really want to see Riot try and bring things back to the way the Void used to be, especially in older canon. But you guys will have to let me know what you think of this down in the comment section below. If there's anything in particular that, or any feedback that you have about your opinions on the Void or what the Void should be doing and that kind of a thing, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below, or what you think of the new character. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later.